Continuum Pedagogy Lessons for Musicians by iServalan. Why Physics Matters in Music, Gravitational Pull, Forces, and Kinetic Energy in the Continuum Approach. In continuum music pedagogy, we begin with something many traditional methods overlook or delay: the simple physics of how sound is made and how our bodies interact with instruments. From the earliest stages, whether with a young child or an adult returning to music, we explore gravitational pull, the forces at play, and the accumulation and direction of kinetic energy. We do this in everyday language, using images and feelings rather than equations, because these principles shape tone, ease, expression, and long-term freedom at the instrument. Surprisingly, many adults have never been given clear, practical understanding of these ideas. They may play for years with tension, inefficient movement, or unexplained fatigue, simply because no one showed them how gravity, force, and energy actually work when a bow meets a string or a finger meets a key. Continuum treats this knowledge as foundational, not advanced. Understanding it early creates safer technique, richer sound, and a more intuitive relationship with the instrument. Gravity as a partner, not an obstacle. Gravity is constant. It pulls everything downward. On a string instrument, the weight of the arm and bow can rest into the string rather than being held up by muscular effort. When a player learns to allow gravitational pull to contribute to bow pressure, the sound gains depth and the body works less. The bow becomes an extension of a free weighted arm instead of a tool that must be forced downward. On the piano, the same principle applies. The natural weight of the arm and hand can drop into the key. Fighting gravity by lifting and pressing with isolated finger strength creates stiffness and limited dynamic range. Allowing gravity to assist produces a warmer, more resonant tone and reduces the risk of strain. We introduce this to children with simple images: let your arm be heavy like a soft bag of sand, or feel the earth pulling your hand gently toward the keys. So the concept becomes felt experience rather than abstract theory. Forces and the transfer of energy. Every sound begins with force applied in a particular direction and with a particular amount of energy. On a bowed string instrument, the bow applies lateral force across the string while the string's tension resists and then responds. The interaction sets the string into vibration. Too little force and the sound is weak or scratchy. Too much and the string is crushed, producing a harsh or choked tone. The player must sense the balance point where force and string response meet efficiently. Kinetic energy, the energy of motion, builds as the arm and bow move. That energy has to go somewhere. Ideally, it transfers cleanly into the string's vibration, then into the instrument's body, and finally into the air as sound. When the energy is blocked by rigid joints, excessive grip, or misaligned posture, it stays in the body as tension or dissipates as noise rather than tone. On the piano, the sequence is similar but sequential. Kinetic energy accumulates in the arm and fingers, travels through the key, is transferred to the hammer, and strikes the string. The string vibrates, the soundboard amplifies, and the energy becomes audible sound. Understanding where the energy needs to go helps players release excess force after the attack, instead of holding tension in the hand or forearm. The result is clearer articulation, greater control of dynamics, and far less physical cost. Why introduce these ideas so early? Children absorb these concepts easily when they are presented simply and playfully. They already experience gravity every time they drop a ball or lean into a swing. Naming the same forces at the instrument makes technique feel natural rather than imposed. Adults often arrive with years of compensatory habits: lifting shoulders, gripping bows or keys, pushing instead of allowing. Revisiting the basic physics gives them a clear map for undoing those habits. Many report sudden clarity. I never realized I was fighting the weight of my own arm. Or, I was dumping energy into my wrist instead of sending it into the sound. This early understanding supports the continuum philosophy of resonance over correctness and agency over compliance. When a player knows how gravitational pull, applied force, and kinetic energy interact, they gain tools for self-adjustment. They can listen to the instrument's response and refine their movement without constant external correction. Technique becomes exploratory rather than corrective. Practical outcomes for players. String players develop freer bow arms. more consistent contact points, and the ability to vary pressure and speed with intention rather than tension. Pianists learn to use arm weight for power and release for speed, reducing the risk of injury while expanding dynamic and tonal range. Both groups gain a deeper sense of the instrument as a physical system that responds to clear, efficient energy transfer. Sound improves because energy is directed rather than scattered. These principles do not replace musical imagination, listening, or repertoire. They support them. A player who understands the physics can more readily translate musical intention into physical action. The body becomes a reliable collaborator instead of an obstacle. In continuum music pedagogy, we return to these ideas repeatedly at every stage of learning because the body and the instrument are always subject to the same physical laws. Gravity does not change with age or ability. Kinetic energy still needs a clear path. By meeting these realities early and simply, we equip musicians of every age with tools that last a lifetime, tools that foster ease, resonance, and the freedom to explore sound without unnecessary struggle. The continuum is not a race toward technical perfection. It is a living relationship with sound, grounded in the physical realities that make sound possible. Understanding gravitational pull, forces, and the journey of kinetic energy is one of the quiet foundations that make that relationship sustainable, expressive, and joyful. Clarified kinetic energy transfer examples, kept in the simple, accessible language used in continuum. Kinetic energy is simply the energy of something that is moving. In playing, that movement starts in the body, arm, hand, fingers, and must travel efficiently into the instrument so it becomes sound instead of staying locked in the body as tension or being wasted as noise, heat. String instruments, violin, viola, cello, bass. Building the energy, you move your arm and bow. That motion creates kinetic energy in the arm plus bow system. Transfer point. The bow hair contacts the string and applies force across it. The moving bow hands over its kinetic energy to the string. The string is under tension, like a stretched rubber band, so it springs into vibration. Where the energy goes next, most of it becomes the string's rapid back and forth motion, vibration. That vibration travels into the bridge, then the body of the instrument, which amplifies it and pushes air molecules, sound waves we hear. A small amount is lost as heat from friction between bow hair and string, or as unwanted noise if the contact is too hard or too light. Simple image for children and adults. Think of pushing a swing. Your arm's moving energy goes into the swing. If you push smoothly and at the right moment, the swing flies high. Good sound. If you shove awkwardly or hold on too tight, energy stays in your arm or the swing just jerks. Scratchy tone or tension. Practical check. After a long note, does your arm feel free and empty or still holding something? Free equals energy transferred cleanly. Holding equals energy got stuck in the body. Piano building the energy. Arm weight plus finger movement creates kinetic energy that travels downward toward the key. Transfer chain. This is sequential and very clear. Finger key. Kinetic energy moves the key downward. Key, weapon, action parts, hammer. The key's motion is mechanically transferred and usually accelerated. The hammer flies faster than the key. Hammer, string. The moving hammer strikes the string and delivers its kinetic energy in a short impact. String vibrates. Soundboard amplifies. Air, sound. Where the energy needs to go. Release. Once the hammer has struck, the remaining energy in the finger arm should be released. The key can rebound. The hand can stay soft. If the player keeps pressing hard after the sound has started, that leftover energy stays in the hand, wrist, or forearm as tension instead of contributing to tone. Simple image. It's like throwing a small ball at a drum. You build speed in your arm, release the ball, hammer. It hits the drum skin, string, and the energy becomes the boom. If you keep gripping the ball after throwing, your hand stays tight for no reason. Practical check. After the note speaks, can the hand rest lightly or float? Or is there still downward pressure and tightness? Light floating equals energy has left the body and gone into the sound. Shared continuum principle. In both instruments, the goal is the same. Let kinetic energy accumulate in a free, natural way, using gravity and good alignment. Then give it a clear path into the instrument, and finally let go so none of it remains trapped in the body. When the transfer is clean, the sound is fuller, the body stays easier, and the player can shape dynamics and tone with far less effort. This is why Continuum introduces these ideas very early, in simple pictures and felt experiences, so both children and adults can sense where the energy needs to go long before technical jargon appears.